变频冷气日本进口非常稀少，日本制造的压缩机也很稀少，请认清产地。日立变频冷气 MIT 节能环保标章，全国最多，压缩机日本制造，日立变频冷气销售第一。
无论在哪里，只要有音乐，一切都变得没有隔膜。相信音乐无界，我的梦想海阔天空。敢梦想，敢追寻，轩尼诗 VSOP。KD 木皮板，世界级的木皮涂装技术，取得绿箭牌标章，健康无毒，是装潢橱柜的名牌衣服。装潢设计前，请先选择 KD 木皮板。
刷卡一克值千金，嘿嘿。
千金好刷，我早知道。现在申办渣打信用卡，刷2笔累积满千，就送1000元刷卡金，还可天天享2%到15%现金回馈。渣打银行。
装潢橱柜的名牌衣服 KD 木皮板。
每个人都想拥有自己的小空间，有多少人付诸执行呢？
Have you done anything like this ever before? No.
只要有心，公厕也能变黄金。
Into the toilets. No. Doesn't smell of rain. That's third. I want one.
And that view is ridiculous. That's genius. Up.
动起来吧，跟我们一起小空间大改造。每周日下午1点，国家地理频道。
Just perfect. By now, some of the firefighters of Engine 10 had reached the base of the North Tower. When George Bachmann exited onto the plaza, he saw Chief Gansey, head of the New York Fire Department, at the command post.
Chief Gansey was on the radio. I reported to him, and I asked him, Chief, what is it I could do for you? He said there was problems with the radio and needed me to go back and reconnoiter whatever was left the South Tower and give a report. So I made my way towards the South Tower ruins.
A collapsed building of this magnitude was unprecedented in the history of New York's fire department. Yet firefighters immediately set about searching for survivors in the most dangerous conditions.
Chief Brown, Mayday, looking in west, I'm trapped in the rubble.
And despite breakdowns in communications, if a radio was heard, there was a chance of rescue.
They were digging through the debris, and they found me, and they dragged me out, and I couldn't see because my eyes were so damaged, and they were trying to comfort me, and I was screaming every time they touched me because my ribs were broken, my arm was twisted and snapped, my back was crushed, my head was open, I was bleeding internally. And I heard them say that they were going to get a stretcher, and I begged them, I says, please just go, leave me, I'm not going to make it. And they said, no, we're going to take you with us.
At 10:17 a.m., Probie Jimmy Brown reached the exit of the North Tower. By now, he had lost sight of his fellow 10-house firefighters. But as jumpers and debris continued to rain down, Jimmy dutifully responded to the command of another unit's officer to help evacuate a last group of civilians.
We weren't cohesive units at that point. And he says, listen, we need to make a human line underneath 6 World Trade Center and guide them out to Vesey Street around the building. So me, being a good probie that I was, following orders, I said, okay. And I didn't even really look up to see if anything was coming. I just kind of turned my head up and just made a mad dash. And I got to the overhang, and I'm like, okay, I'm safe. And I'm watching these people. As they get to the doorway, they're looking up, they're running. They get to me, I shoot them. Next one. There really wasn't any more civilians coming out. It was all first responders. And I said, okay, you know what? That's it. I'm out of here. I said, this is getting too hairy. There's a lot more stuff coming down. I have no idea what's going on. I just got to get the hell out of here.
Around the corner on West Street, George Bachman responded to distressed calls coming from a vehicle.
We could hear a woman screaming in the distance. When the fog of the South Tower started to dissipate a little, we could see it was a woman trapped in a van. And we went down West Street with what tools we had to assist her, and we got around 10 feet away. As I was searching for tools in my pocket, we could hear the North Tower rip open behind us.
It was 10:28 a.m.
It just sounded like a freight train from really far away, and it was just getting faster and getting closer. And the stuff started hitting me, and the only exposed part of my body, the left side, I kept getting hit with pieces of debris, and I was like, ow, that hurt.
Me and the other firefighter went behind the South Tower girder. The girder, weighing several tons, shook, broke my back in 2 places, received head trauma as well as burns.
I started feeling the loose debris come up to my knee, then my thigh, then my waist. And then it started going up past my waist, and I kind of came to the realization, like, holy crap, I'm going to get buried alive. And a lot of thoughts passed through my mind. One of them was the fact that I was going to leave my wife, Shirley, a widow.
10 House firefighter Jeff Olson was above the 30th floor when the North Tower collapsed. His wife Denise was at their home in upstate New York as the tragic events unfolded.
My house was set up almost in a circle, and that's what I did. I was pacing. So I get in the shower, and our house is tiny. I leave the bathroom door slightly ajar so that I can listen to the TV. And as I'm in the shower, I hear the newscasters, oh my God, the second tower is coming down. And while I was in the shower, at that exact moment, I had a locket that Jeff had given me, and it fell off of my neck. I felt like it got yanked off, basically. And immediately at that second, I knew, I just sensed that he had fallen. What I was praying and hoping was, oh God, please, just bring him home. I don't care if he's hurt. I don't care if he's missing limbs. Just bring him home.
31-year-old Jeff Olson lost his life during the collapse of the North Tower. He died along with Lieutenant Stephen Harrell, aged 44, and 26-year-old probie Sean Talon. The Ladder 10 search and rescue team were one of the first to climb the stairwell in the North Tower. It is not known whether they were able to respond to the mayday. When the tower fell, Ladder 10's driver, John Morabito, was nearby on West Street.
I felt that rush of the ashen air come around me, and it completely covered my world in darkness, and it was absolute silence. I was far enough away that the debris had stopped about a block earlier, and I survived.
The gigantic cloud of acrid dust created by the collapsed tower enveloped most of lower Manhattan. Jimmy Brown was at the epicenter in the remains of World Trade 6. The building had saved his life.
I ended up on my back. Everything was pitch black. I couldn't see a thing. I couldn't see my hand in front of me. I turned on my flashlight, and I couldn't see anything. I couldn't even see the flashlight. It was just everything was swallowed up by the dust.
Got water?
I see fire trucks burning, cop cars crushed, and just this endless sea of papers and dust. And all this while, I'm thinking, I got out. I don't know what happened to the rest of my company.
It was 10:45 a.m. The fate of Jimmy's company, Engine 10, was as unknown as all the other companies in New York's fire department. In the coming hours, the race was on to find survivors amongst the carnage of what was once the World Trade Center. The unprecedented horror of 9/11 tested New York's bravest to breaking point. Amidst the devastation of the collapsed towers, firefighters attempted to regroup their companies. The view towards Liberty Street was a scene of billowing smoke and dust. Somewhere behind lay Ten House.
When the building came down, the debris went over the top of the firehouse and landed in the street behind. All this was piled up behind the firehouse. So I was actually used that to walk up into the window. The back window of the firehouse was probably 10 feet off the ground.
I make my way to the firehouse, and when I get to the firehouse is in complete disarray. There's actually an ambulance backed into the engine bay of the firehouse. The firehouse was completely covered in dust. There was all sorts of debris coming through the front door. There were a couple of firefighters that I recognized. Vincent Geloso was actually walking towards me as I was coming in, and he goes, "Dead man walking." He goes, "How did you survive?" I'm talking to Mike Cancel and to Dulski and to John Schroeder, and these were all guys from my firehouse, and I'm asking them, "Where's Lieutenant Alice?" And someone said, "I saw Lieutenant Alice. He went on a ferry. He's on his way to New Jersey. I think he had a broken leg. They'll take him to a hospital." I'm like, okay. So now we're gathering this information just from hearsay.
Here on Greenwich Street, Ten House is on the far right, enveloped in smoke and dust. Firefighters reassembled into their companies as best they could. Then it was time to get back to saving lives.
As soon as you walk out the firehouse, you start going to work. You don't have to walk for 2 feet before you could start getting involved. It was all up to us to try to do what we can possibly do. And we were fighting with time. Somebody's stuck under there. How long is the man going to survive? Or the woman? And then as we're going, all we wanted to do was find somebody.
And I see an ambulance on fire, and there's a hose laying on the floor, and I turn on the hose, and there's some water, and I'm thinking maybe there's someone in the back of the ambulance that was abandoned because the people had to run, and I put out the ambulance with the hose, and I look in the ambulance, there's no one in there.
Everything was on fire. Everything. Beepers were going off. Buzzers for the air packs were going off. Everybody's walking around like zombies. We're climbing over debris, and the sewers are flooded. And water's coming up. Now I'm in water up to my waist. Trying to walk. You can't lift your feet up. You don't know what's under you if you're going to step into a hole and disappear. So now we're trying to shuffle our feet. Come across a fireman stuck underneath the back of a set of stairs. I says, "Oh, let's grab this piece of pipe over here. Give me a hand with this piece of pipe. We'll use it. We'll try to get it out, and we'll use this as a tool. Maybe we can pry something, use it as leverage." And working together, somebody just grabbed this guy when we got a little relief on him and pulled him out. I thought they were going to rip his leg off, but he got out, and he was alive.
But success with finding survivors was hampered by the fire that took hold in the remaining buildings of the World Trade Center. Firefighters battled to control the raging infernos that only a few hours earlier had been a place of work for 50,000 New Yorkers. The strain on Ten House firefighters was beginning to tell. Some had fathers and brothers in other companies that served New York that fateful morning.
I said, "Cap, I got to find my brother." I said, "My brother's missing." He goes, "All right, come on." He goes, they're putting together a list of names of everybody missing over here at the command center at the station. And I look at the list, and my brother's name is on the list. And it's firefighter Mike Morabito. I'm absolutely devastated, heartbroken. Now my brother's dead. I love him so much. And I'm exhausted, I'm thirsty. I see this one hydrant, and I get down on my knee, and I'm taking the water from the hydrant, and I'm washing my face, and I'm just kind of taking a sip of water, and I look up, and my brother comes walking right in front of me. I'm like, oh my God, how is this even possible in all of this madness?
I'm looking down, and there's another fireman that's looking down, and we ended up literally bumping into each other. I look up, he looks up. And it's my cousin John. He was assigned to a Staten Island company, and he was there on the recall. And man, it felt so good to see somebody that you knew.
It was now 2:30 in the afternoon of 9/11. Ladder 10's Dan Potter could take it no longer and asked his captain for permission to go and find his wife, Jean. She had gone to work that morning on the 81st floor of the North Tower. Dan hoped she had escaped and gone to their home in Battery Park City.
I don't have any keys on me because I just quickly changed and left everything in my locker. I was knocking on the apartment door, and with each knock, I expected her to open that door up. And I just remember knocking and banging on the door, and that's when I just became overwhelmed. I said, she didn't make it out of there. I couldn't just stay there, but that's when I came down and I sat on the bench. I said to myself, she's dead. I sit down and sit and cry.
Dan decides to try the door again, this time using his firefighter's strength.
Just as I force the door open, the phone rings. I pick up, it's my father, and he's crying on the other end of the phone. So I said, Dad, I said, I'm okay. I said, okay, but I can't find Jean. I don't know where Jean is. He goes, I know where she is. He says, she's at the Chinatown firehouse.
After surviving the South Tower collapse, Jean Potter wandered the streets until she was told to wait for Dan at the Chinatown firehouse.
I said, you got a beautiful redhead in here? To one of the guys, and there were other companies coming in, so I just happened to catch the right guy that knew where Jean was. And he says, she's right inside here in the television room. And that's when I opened up the door, I just saw her standing there.
We hugged. We were two misses hugging one another. I mean, what a blessing we were given. But our hearts break for so many.
It felt so good to hug her. I was just so glad that I did not leave her a widow. And even at that, the guilt, everything it seemed involved feeling guilty that I survived.
Engine 10's Lieutenant Atlas did not report back to the firehouse that day. His wife Joanne remained home, waiting for news from the fire department.
That whole day was a blur. I think I started cooking. It was like, I just think it was like do things to keep busy because you have to keep busy. Basically, I think I was waiting by the phone for any kind of news.
It's an exciting day to start research at a new place with a new group of talented scientists and try to help them solve a new puzzle.
这群科学家，我们叫它 Sharkman。全新海域
This is Sharky Place.
凶猛的鲨鱼
Tiger Shark is a nasty shark.
险峻的挑战。鲨鱼冒险家，星期六晚上6点，国家地理频道。历经6个月的严寒，翻越重重山巅，一切都是为了捕捉这稀释的完美。同样的坚持与追求，穿 找万中无一的项目，是为酿造点滴非凡富裕。格兰杰源自不必要的坚持。
You need water. You need food. You need to be active. You need new Evo for an active tomorrow.
活力生活，扭力活。
Shining so bright, it's gonna be alright. Yeah, shining so bright, it'll make everything right.
花旗现金回馈无限卡全新上市，不限类别，笔笔都回馈，最高1.5%，回馈轻松到手，缺电费也有回馈。
Shining so bright.
新户满额送 Sensodyne 子母行李箱，快拨55125。
You need water. You need food. You need to be active. You need new Evo for an active tomorrow.
活力生活，扭力活。
龙是不死的，因为龙从不离开水。水就像直觉，无法把握，却有足以改变世界的力量。我相信直觉，不要遵循规则，而要创造规则，那才是超越成功的路，那才是变革者的路。
Keep walking, Johnny Walker.
德国原装进口德奈假牙清洁锭，新一代显示型假牙清洁锭，由蓝变白，清洁就完成了。
它的活性氧能迅速清除假牙的细菌、净白、杀菌，一次完成。
新一代显示型德恩奈假牙清洁锭。
爱上网，爱讲电话，亚太电信上网讲电话都便宜。
亚太电信。
我想要大手机加大平板，可是好贵哦。亚太电信1机2得，聪明新选择，月付950，手机免费再送ASUS平板，还有多款大荧幕手机哦。加入亚太，你就是智慧达人。
深蓝绝不错过。深蓝苏格兰威士忌，在我们的脚底之下，深埋着许多故事，许多被遗忘的历史。现在，我们将派出乔治王与班主双搭档，深掘出地底下的另一个世界。跟着寻宝猎人的脚步，透过这些历尽风霜的遗物，一起拼凑消失的历史。绝地寻宝猎人，每星期4晚上10点，国家地理频道。 By the end of the most momentous day in the history of New York's fire department, nearly 400 firefighters were reported as missing. 6 of the names were from Ten House, half the firefighters who were on duty on 9/11.
One of the worst roads in the world is missing because that's what we were dealing with at that point. Everybody was missing and nobody knew anything at that point.
The desperate search for survivors continued through the night. Engine 10's Pete D'Ancona worked ceaselessly in the most hazardous conditions.
The amount of time we were down there, I didn't see too many people coming out alive. And it really hurt.
Pete is captured here at the end of another night's search.
This don't run. Colors right here don't run. That was this company over there. That's my company in front of 10 and 10.
It's very, very, very hard to keep moving forward if you're not getting anything back from it. You start to give up. After 2 or 3 days, they had set up the Ladder 10 apparatus floor as a makeshift morgue. We made it a point to do what we had to do as professional as we can to the best of our ability. I don't know anybody we didn't do it that way. We tried to give everybody as much dignity as we possibly could.
After 2 weeks, it became clear that those firefighters still missing would not be found alive. From Ten House, this included retired Captain James Corrigan and firefighter Paul Pansini, assigned to another company that day, and Lieutenant Greg Atlas.
He loved being a firefighter. They're usually the biggest characters, and well, Greg personified that too, but they love life. And, you know, one minute they could be acting like a bunch of 12-year-olds, and then the next minute they turn around and do these amazing rescues, and they put themselves on the line.
We lost 6 guys from our firehouse. The city lost 343 firefighters, some of whom I knew directly. It's hard to go someplace to try to find solace because everybody's hurting and everybody feels this loss. And so the family's fractured. The family is hurt, and it takes time to rebuild that family. It takes time to get back together. At the same time, we're dealing with this traumatic event that's right in front of our firehouse.
On October the 21st, 2001, the remains of Ladder 10's search and rescue team were found. True to the call of the Ten House firefighters, on 9/11 they had been among the first ones into the World Trade Center. And now Stephen Harrell, Sean Talon, and Jeff Olson were amongst the last out.
The firemen would, you know, they were incredible. They were always in my house. They always brought food. My house was wall-to-wall people. Whatever your family would do for you is what the firemen come and do for you. But it was a struggle. It was absolutely a struggle.
After 9/11, life, it seemed, would never be the same again for New York. But though the vast twin towers were obliterated, the firehouse that served them remained standing. Ten House and its firefighters began a new life as the focus of America's grief and pride for the fallen heroes of 9/11.
We were trying to give people hope, and a feeling of goodness is still out there among all this devastation and evil that you see. And as people are coming in, we wanted them to see, as they're coming down to the site, that there's a firehouse here, and that firehouse is still open. It's still open. We're still standing. We're still here every single day for you. We're here to protect you. We didn't leave. All the other buildings are empty. The Trade Center is gone. The streets are destroyed. The whole financial district is in turmoil, but we're still here.
This iconic building is now a working firehouse for the new World Trade Center. It is also a destination for many thousands of visitors to New York, as a living memorial to the Ten House heroes and the brotherhood of firefighters who responded to the call on 9/11.
接下来播出的是《绝地寻宝猎人》海盗战利品。这里是新加坡年轻人成为领袖的地方，他们的体能跟精神都会受到试炼，而他们更会被推到极限，证明他们能够成为同伴中的领袖。
I will only become a better leader and a better son to my family. What is your purpose here in those years?
全新一季《新加坡新兵日记》，星期3晚上11点，国家地理频道。你想把迷你巴士改造成鱼缸吗？没问题。你想打造珍稀2斤爬虫类的生态缸吗？也没问题。你想拥有25000加仑的超大鱼缸吗？通通没问题。这群鱼缸改造专家使命必达。
Make sure it's good. He's my Mona Lisa.
拥有炫目又具特色的超级鱼缸不再是梦想。全新一季改造鱼缸大作战，每星期6晚上10点，国家地理频道。
两个勇敢的夫妻调查记者深入美国最黑暗角落。
What happened to her?
She had blood coming down her neck.
Oh my God.
I started using drugs.
This is the last stop before the grave.
体验令你震惊的世界。
I was a piece of property.
随时做好最坏的打算。
They all raped me and they videotaped it.
直击真相，最丑陋的真相。全新系列夫妻。